Today, we are announcing the details of our House tax bill. We told Minnesotans last year that the DFL would be on the side of the middle class. We told them that we would balance our state books once and for all and in a responsible way. And we told them that we would pay off the debt that we owe our schools and make needed investments in education, jobs, and property tax relief. The bill that we're talking about today is how we live up to those promises. Our plan starts with the reality that we've been talking about, that we face a $627 million budget deficit. Instead of taking the status quo budget approach that relies only on cuts and budget gimmicks, we're taking the balanced approach favored by most Minnesotans by raising new revenue and finding reforms and reductions in spending in our HHS budget in order to eliminate that deficit. That's our constitutional obligation, and the highest priority is to balance the budget, and anyone without a plan to do at least that much lacks any credibility in this debate. Our plan also acknowledges that that the bill that we owe our schools is past due, and we intend to make good on our promise to Minnesotans by paying back our kids and their schools with a temporary 2-year surcharge on only the wealthiest 1% of Minnesotans, those making over $500,000 a year, and only on the money they make over $500,000 a year. It will ratchet down if additional economic growth reduces the debt we owe our schools, and it will blink off completely, as every other income surcharge in the history of this state has, in 2 years. Closing the deficit and paying back our schools is, in our view, the first order of business, but we don't believe it's the only order of business. There's a broad consensus, even among business community and Republicans, that there are investments that we can and should make to improve our state. In particular, investments in our early learners that have been proven to reduce the achievement gap and get our kids on the path to success in the new global economy, as well as investments in higher education that will freeze tuition rates in order to make it more affordable and reduce the mountain of debt for students. Those priorities are things that Minnesotans broadly value, and the priorities that merit our investments in our state's future and for middle-class families, and again, things that the business community and the Republicans agree with us about. But despite what Republicans seem to think, and what I guess we all wish were true, those critical investments are not free. We believe that by taking a balanced approach to solving the budget deficit, by making our tax system fair, and by making the tough choices and strategic investments included in our plan, we are making the right choices for our state's future. Our plan asks the very wealthiest Minnesotans and big corporations to pay their fair share, something that has not been asked of them through a decade of budget deficits. Along with the temporary surcharge, we are going to raise income taxes to a fourth-tier income tax to a rate of 8.49% on those earning more than $400,000 per year, the same income level included in the Obama-Boehner compromise at the federal level. This would affect the wealthiest 1.1% of Minnesota tax filers and just 3.3% of Minnesota business owners. It's important to note that it would only affect the income that business owners take in salary over $400,000, not on all their business expenses. The talking point that Democrats are going to tax mom and pop small businesses is simply not true. We will also close corporate tax loopholes that allow big corporations to shelter profits overseas. Those are loopholes that Minnesota families and small businesses don't receive, and ones that we cannot any longer afford. Our plan also includes an increase in tobacco and alcohol user taxes. There is overwhelming evidence that tobacco and alcohol consumption cost the state economy billions of dollars every year. These user tax increases will allow our state to recover some of those costs. We're going to make significant investments in job growth in this bill. In addition to the $350 million tax cut that is going to be in our jobs bill on the floor today, the tax bill will include support for new development at the Mall of America, for the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and for 3M in Woodbury. Each of those projects and the proposals that are coming in this tax bill are the fruit of hard policy work, and not simply taking the easy path of grabbing the first idea presented. Finally, our plan makes property tax relief a priority, as we said we would do. While income taxes have remained flat for a decade, property taxes have increased by 86%. Those property tax hikes have unfairly squeezed middle-class families and made our system more unfair and more aggressive. And that is why our plan provides real property tax relief to middle-class Minnesotans. Nearly 1 million Minnesotans will see direct property tax relief in our proposal to revitalize the homestead credit refund. Middle-class Minnesotans have paid the price too long for irresponsible budgets. Property taxes have skyrocketed, college tuition has doubled, class sizes have grown bigger, and we haven't solved our budget problems, seeing deficits in 8 of the last 10 years. And in this current biennium that we're solving for right now. All the while, big corporations have cut their special tax breaks, and the very richest Minnesotans haven't had to contribute more to the solution. It's time we turn the page on that past and look to a stronger, more prosperous future, and we believe that our budget plan, including this tax component, will accomplish that goal. I'm going to turn it over to Representative Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon, everyone. After a decade of deficits that have largely been balanced on the backs of middle-class Minnesotans, we need a new direction as badly as we need a change in the weather, and that is what we're offering today. This is a plan that is responsive to the voices and the values and the priorities of Minnesotans. It presents a stable budget for the future built on new revenues, reforms, and reductions in spending. It is a fair tax system providing middle-class tax relief and asking the very wealthiest Minnesotans to chip in just a little bit more. And it provides new investments in education and job creation to pave a brighter future for all of us in Minnesota. And speaking a little of our strategic investments, a funny thing has happened as we've rolled out our middle-class first budget. Republicans have said they kind of like the spending in a number of the proposals coming through the committees. Paying back our schools, the Republicans, many of them say they want to do that. More funding for Minnesota schools and our earliest learners, many Republicans have said yes to that as well. More funding for our nursing homes, the Republicans, many of them are in on that. And when you start to add that up all together, you get north of $1 billion pretty quick, not to mention the $627 million deficit. When it comes to paying for these priorities, for these investments, Republicans, of course, continue to say no. And that is undoubtedly the reaction you will see today, their reaction to our tax proposal. They'll sing the same tune that has fallen flat for more than a decade, a tune that has protected the wealthiest special interests, the wealthiest Minnesotans, and given nothing but deficit after deficit to Minnesotans in our budget. It is important to link our work today on the House floor, on our jobs bill, and the other bills that you'll see come through the House this week and next to the tax proposal, because the two cannot be unhinged. The revenue in the tax bill allows us to balance our deficit, it allows us to pay back our schools, and it allows us to invest in our future, an important future for everybody in Minnesota, like job creation and stronger schools. That is the real choice before us, because if there are good investments for our state's future out there, then they're worth paying for, finally and honestly, for Minnesota. We believe the tax bill that we're talking about today is fair and responsible and moves us forward toward that goal. And we're happy to take your questions. Thank you.
What is the bottom line on tax increase? Tax increases.
Yes, and I have that. Hold on one sec. Probably should be on the top of my mind. The total net amount with the property tax increases and then paying back the schools is about $1.5 billion. This year, it's substantially less than that in the next biennium because we have the school shift payoff this year.
The tax bill does not appear to include anything with by way of sales tax changes. Tell us about the thinking there.
I think there's one piece which is the affiliate nexus piece, which I guess is a sales tax piece. We don't believe that the conversation about sales tax is right now. That was not what we talked about on the campaign trail, and we think to do that kind of work, you need to have that kind of conversation with Minnesotans, and we don't believe that's happening.
Is the memorabilia tax in here?
It should be. It will be. Yeah.
Can you provide any more details as far as the destination medical center, what that?
You know, so it is. I mean, it's a little bit more details. I think it's still being refined. The tax bill will be actually rolled out or posted at 6 o'clock. The language of it. It's going to rely more on local and taxes and Mayo contributions, and it's not going to be a recapture kind of proposal, and a growth recapture kind of.